ya tamam 내가 아주 괜찮아 안기인 주변이 안지게 산이에 산유주변이 안지수라에게 되니 디바치에 안기인 주변이 디바치가 되냐 세상 아이가서다 참아야 되시대요.
Good afternoon. All of you have come together today to this refuge ceremony wherein one receives the 5 lay vows. So these are vows that were given by the Buddha himself to his students. So I just want to say welcome to everyone for this very auspicious and worthwhile event.
나도 저기 아티샤사한테 대화되어봐다 동아미 대화시가 미나게 누구에 나서봐다 디기를 보고 그래 근데 동아미 보고 말해 세상에서 디기 주에 들라 탑은 들라 안 동아세에다 디기 주에 치유의 도안에 아주 디기 주에 안 동아세에게 탑은지 난 남상로 다음에 도안에 아니 디기 주에다 동아세에게 탑은지 무슨 이유고 그래 세상에 안 중에도 민 지님이 Reverbere Lobsang Dorje 내가 내가 엄청 해야 소바지소 나는 지금 mention지야 소바지소 치트기 도네 디기주다 다가 디기주다 누가세에 다른 일이와
All of us, everyone here, every being that lives anywhere is identical on a fundamental level in that we all want to experience only happiness. Moreover, no one wants to suffer. This is the case for each and every human being throughout the world as well as for animals. Every being only wants to experience happiness, never punctuated by even a moment of suffering. And in fact, everything that one does is motivated at the fundamental level by this wish to achieve happiness and to overcome suffering. And the two primary or very general techniques by which one both attains happiness and overcomes problems is one is to do with the outer material world and the other is to do with the inner mental world. So in terms of the material world, you engage in work, you go to, you take medicine when ill and so forth, and this and many other activities one engages in with the material world, one does so to achieve happiness and to overcome problems.
지난 내내기 치트기에 디기주에다 동아세에 내가 되어서 동아세 두에다 내가 되어서 디기주에 공부를 내 땡기 대화 아니 그디는 대화는 대화야다 동아세에 싸우기에 내가 쇠투에리 괜히 배워다 이것도 세상에 하고 세부로 하다.
Whilst engaging in various techniques to do with the material world to attain happiness and overcome problems does have some benefit, some effect. We know from our own lived experience that that effect is always temporary. Whatever one engages in on the material level only can lead to very short-term happiness or overcoming problems on a short-term basis. No lasting happiness or complete eradication of suffering and problems can be attained solely through engaging on a material level. And this is something we all know to be self-evident.
Some Shandy Pembe some of the some Yaya, more completed down to start with that. This way, I young should chase it to do, and not the Digi, getting a Diawani Diawara, to Mazawa, to your body, say we were done, and it down to Tamam Gelatin, and I am the J, because I dig to your town, to my city to you go. It is that as I usually so my answer to my said and dig you to be Tamam. So the China Twingy the Korea Sungur did so someone to work on it, that's it.
Buddha Shakyamuni, 2,500 years ago, he identified and pointed out that the only way to attain lasting happiness lasting happiness which is this peace of mind that is never punctuated by even a moment of anything unwanted, any unwanted experience. Such a state of lasting happiness comes about through the complete eradication of all that would otherwise lead to suffering. And this is to be found internally. So what the Buddha presented is that through radically transforming one's mind, lasting happiness can be achieved. Complete freedom from all problems, suffering, and difficulties can be attained. And the way to do this is first to identify which ways of thinking, which minds, cause us harm, and then striving to eradicate those minds such as attachment, anger, jealousy, and so forth. And concurrent to that, identifying which minds are wholesome, which ones lead to lasting happiness. And these include minds such as love and compassion and wisdom, understanding reality. And the Buddha pointed out or showed how through strengthening the wholesome minds and to the point of perfection and completely eradicating unwholesome minds, in that way, lasting, stable happiness can be achieved. So therefore, in summary, whilst one needs to work within our material world to ensure we have suitable material conditions, to attain our desired state of peace of mind, of lasting happiness, our primary focus needs to be on our mental transformation. The Buddha offered vows to his followers, vows of varying different types, and so as to help his students in their process of training their mind. Vows being constraints that one, or restraints that one chooses to live within because of the understanding that they help lead to a state of freedom from suffering. Now, vows can be offered, but they cannot be insisted upon because the person receiving them, they are, from their side, need to be making a wholehearted promise. The commitment comes from the person who is receiving the vow. In that way, a vow is received. It cannot be forcefully imposed. It cannot be insisted on or imposed. It has to be accepted and wholeheartedly received. And the vows are in different ways, different types. They are usually presented in a fourfold type. There are those for the ordained and the non-ordained, and then they are divided by gender. So the ordained monks and nuns, and the non-ordained men and women. And these together make a fourfold entourage or fourfold grouping. So these we can think of in terms of the historical Buddha, and also in modern times in Buddhism, where the fourfold groupings of vow holders are what keeps the Buddhism alive, keep Buddhism present. So groups of people, monks and nuns, so that's two, and men and women. Then these are the fourfold entourage that keep Buddhism alive by having vows within.
That take a consideration that you have we should that days you have now, and Jema, and Chiti, the message Chavara, and then Chikanchi source in Kasuri, and Namja, Chiatua, Namja Chitamati, Chike, or Mrs. Chavara, or Chinda, the Chava means you should say, Kane, Namja, Chiato, and Dinashita, you have dinner such a Jabas Maimba, and to envy. 담제디 팀티 숨기 기합디 숨기 제백다 차상지 캐린 남자시고 디나시 당아서 남바상이 좀내 지수자네 내지게 경로 제제 개화좀 주바가 아니 남자 캐린 제와스가야만 베노시네 되제야래 아니 지금 주대와래 아직 캐린 제와가 준비 남자 캐린 제오문다 디나시 상이 좀내디 지수자 경로 제디는 아주 개화 주베라 아직 미시게 캐린 남자라서 도마송 거야요 in I said, Diletos, Nuba Cheradaji, that was Missy Raji, Damjakin, Jawanashi, that's on your genetic Jesu Rada, Dina, Domosun Yamichis, that I mean, but this soon is Kenny Jasu, Masi, Jasu, Galia, Ningin Kelly, Chiki, this piece, Kelly, but the Kelly, Lemat, Domashuas, Kelly.
Just like those who move to Australia, they move here from their side, they make this choice, this decision to move to Australia, but in order to stay here long term, they need to make certain promises or commitments to Australia itself. And this is usually done in a citizenship ceremony, where various promises or pledges are made by the about to become Australian citizens. So this refuge ceremony is similar in that one is making certain promises to act in accordance with the community of Buddhists. And this is something that one makes from one's own side, wholeheartedly, willingly. One isn't coerced or forced to take vows, but one does so because one wants to attain the benefit of the trainings of the Buddha.
저기 이 도로 소외될 가르스는데 시나로 차고래 다담보데 가르스는 지게 조 지나 소주바 송아디 소주 송에 이나네 맞아 미야 밀샤로 송에 이치셔 차고래 이제 이 조마레스 지메스 캐는 남자지야 지게 아니네 양 주인식 비주얼에 주인세죠 비주얼에 주인도 엄마 지게 라마타나 소주 미국을 봐야겠다 이 통사자 뭐시를 심해다 소심해다 미국을 봐야겠다 아주 뭐시 위해서 주의시에는 주인체고를 이소 뭐야 지게 차고래 아니 로엠스나 다만 지게 소수기 다 차세 교회는 소수가 살아 예배나 다 소수가 살아 되게 고발자는 소수기 미샤나는 도지 제가 있는데 이 로엠스 거다 다 선다로 심해봐이나 아직에 소수기 제 머신보다 되어버리는 거야 말하다 되어 미팅 거지 현재 재화다 언두스 제배는 로엠으로 차고 뒤서야 지주고 말해서 언두스는 되는 고마워야 돼 고마워야 돼 되게 아니 고마워 주고 말해서 고마워 매서 손에 캐리제 아니 네가 아니야 네 장동매서 캐리제 되게 다만지는 선제 미수비매서 미수비기 수매서 아니 미수를 주시매 미시매서 아니 지게 고마워 매서 아니 가사 내 모임지매서 손에 아니 네가 장동매서 니지매서 디케레디다 맞아 또 쉬어서 디케레 주인친구라서 무엇이면은 미국보다 무엇이면도 근데 지금 라마다 루마다에 되게 통해서 세세시로 가지고 주인친구서 중요로 이제 지난 주인 시시고 말때 주 친구들이 가야 이치셔죠.
then what are these vows that are received or wholeheartedly adopted in the refuge ceremony? Well, they are fivefold. So the first one is that of not killing. So the vow of not killing, it's whilst there is encouragement not to take any life, the vow of not killing specifically refers to not taking human life. So therefore, the vow not to kill means not to kill humans. Ideally, one should refrain from any killing, but it refers specifically to taking human life. The second vow is not to lie, not to deceive others. And whilst, again, in general, this should be avoided, here the vow is specifically about lying to others or deceiving others about having great spiritual attainments when one does not have them, such as saying or claiming to have clairvoyance when one does not, claiming to have seen deities when one has not. So that is what the vow of not to lie specifically refers to. And sexual misconduct, that's the third one. And this refers to either adultery or to engage in sexual activity without consent. And then fourthly, that not to steal. And this then refers to taking something of value from others. And fifth and finally is not to take intoxicants. So these then are the five vows. Not to kill, in particular human beings, not to lie, but in particular it refers to lying about spiritual attainments, great spiritual attainments. Thirdly, not to engage in sexual misconduct. So that would refer to, if one has a partner, to not being unfaithful, and if one, in any circumstance, not to engage without consent. And then fourthly, not to steal, and fifthly, not to take intoxicants.
셰야 잼 제베네 친구들과 친구가 자고로와 진에 지게 창으로 동나들이 제베네 지게 라샤는 묘비다 근데 디서 친구라면에 아직도 도시네 발시 친구는 거 받으면 세바고 거 봤을 때 내가 이 미시디 송바토에게다 니하스카레 하버스 게미야 지단의 지원에 맞게 도시에 텔린지고 말로 하다는 지역에다 텔린지고 말로 지단에 나중에 지속이 팀나야 다른 차들과
These five vows largely are in accordance with societal norms. So they're not particularly challenging to keep, because if one transgresses them, largely society sees that as unethical behavior. For example, killing human beings or stealing, this is illegal. So clearly society doesn't approve of that. And sexual misconduct, so being unfaithful or engaging in sexual misconduct, are either illegal or they are seen as unwanted or unwanted behavior by society. And whilst taking intoxicants is not illegal or often not frowned on in society, certainly overindulging is certainly not always seen as praiseworthy. Now I'll ask all of you to generate certain specific minds or attitudes. So firstly, to generate a joyful attitude by recognizing your great good fortune to have an opportunity to receive these vows. So first of all, in this life, you have been born as a human being. And not only as a human being, but as someone with the imprints to have interest in receiving these restraints, to restrain oneself from harmful behavior. And therefore, I not only have this interest, but now today have this opportunity. So recognizing that then generates a joy at these causes you have created that have brought you to this point.
Dhamma Sangye Chömne Di Dela Umu Shu Sambe Samda Andelia Anjing Dhamma Sangye Chömne Delia Dadi Delia Anjing the Umu Shu Zada Dagi Delia Delia Dhamma Chömne Chesu Jati Dhamma Shu Sambe Samda Dhamma Chömne Gomu Shu Meba Cheche Dhamma Sangye Chömne Delia Chachi Pukore Chesna Ganzi Langji Chapumen Lawa Yamajada that the negative Dhamma Chömne Gomu Shu Dhamma Diria Chigi Giyin Dhamma Shu Dhamma Chömne Lam Yamli Lo Geshe Badelia Ji Labu Tachima Ji Sambe Dushin Samada Gam Ji Sanji is Dushin Samada of Gomroji Chazo Naya Libya Lawa Lion Timoja Yuma Geta who should debut on some Dushin Chasi.
Now imagine that the visual representation that we have of Buddha Shakyamuni, the statue on the shrine, that actually Buddha Shakyamuni is actually there. So imagine that he is actually physically present and generate the wish within yourself to receive these vows from him in person. So here on the level of imagination, you imagine that he is here present and you generate a deep sense of respect for him, towards him with the wish to receive the vows. So usually here we would stand and make prostrations, but there are many people here, so stay seated, generate this wish within, and join your palms together in the position of prostration. Just join your palms together like that, and imagine prostrating to the Buddha himself with this wish within oneself to receive the vows from him now directly. So just take a minute to generate that thought.
Oh yeah. That Geshe Rabten Ram Jipumare, she has some Jatamcha Dumadi, or Dumadi Tau, or the Puzzles of Jubu, Cesada, the Tigi, Duma Tam Jele, say, Duma Tam Jele, Jaji, the Puzzles of Juegi, Tabla Suyers, and the Basan Yukasa, Kevin Honjo Sunteria, Gubin, Nubada, and the Lamdunje, Nuba, and the Tashima, where the Suyu Mazia, the Suyu Mazia, and the Chicken Lamdun, Yamen, but none of the Yamsuja, the Mahina, and Della. Nuata, Gubli, Samegi, and the Niki, Dusha Samta, the Ring Damazuku, Koyu, Duma, the Nabata, the Tabu, Duma, the Tower, who was a Rajan Sam, Duma, the Tower, who said, Tabu, somebody yet. Then Duma, the Taya, Tablam, Lamdunje, and the Yokan Suyo, Tugan Suyos, get your conscious, get your conscious, and then Tabam Bench, and Mantu, by that, you two cemetery, you will question your cemetery, do some daja, and then Dabo, Dumadi, Tower, do some Samachita, to one mother and Jim Rajan Sama, that we need to go to the Tower, do some time. Even the Latitana, Duan the Tana, Tabla Tap to Sushi, get your conscious. Gobri, giving you body or give Gobri as and garment that's Jimmy Bomchika, that Jambo Vaso, the demon to be Jambo Vaso.
Now, meditate and generate refuge towards the Buddha. And the way to do so is to reflect in the following manner: that I want to live free of problems. I don't want to experience any form of problem or difficulty. And that is the case for all beings. How can I attain a state free of suffering, problems and difficulties? Who can guide me to transform my mind so that I achieve a state free of suffering? Only the Buddha can. Only the Buddha who has attained such a state himself is qualified to guide beings such as myself to transform my mind and attain a state of lasting happiness, freed of suffering. So here, in this meditation of refuge, generate a trust or confidence that the Buddha alone can guide one to attain a state of lasting happiness, freed of suffering and problems.
언도시 경로지 공부하차에 언주에 대대야 디시성 지가고 성공했다고야. 근데 내가 주의 기회도 너무서 슈세디다 맞은 슈요다 맞아야 나야 난게임도 보슈이 치고 근데 안돼야 하는 말이야 지금 자신의 마음도 두신다 이메지는 쉬지냐 동안 때 타시는지 생각 상반제 야 두신다 나와 참마자지 두신다 자신 마음 차게 돼 두신 마시는 거.
So the bestowing of these vows of refuge, this is something that I will be doing. So therefore, in the same manner as earlier, by remaining seated and joining one's palms together, one offered prostration. This offering of prostration is the mode of making, or the manner to make a request for the vows of refuge. So in the same way as one did before to the Buddha. Now, myself here as a representative, then if you can join your palms together and mentally generate the wish to receive the vows of refuge from myself.
Yeah, that is. That you get the end of somebody, so idea, that's also Jibu, that's also Jibu, and to her tires of my budget, and the other same time. 디기 때문에 semja 탐지 두가세 달라 해 아니 semja 탐지야 디기 두고 semja 탐지 가서 semja 탐지 되어도 되는 거래 지나 semja 되어도 되는 거 쉬운 소리게 잡아고 semja 동안에 달아서 니스한테 맞아 계속 주시 검네 검토로 와다게 검바는 지금 뭐한테 배 야고 싶고 고마 야고 주요에는 근데 또 받이야 야고 싶고 근데 무슨 야고 이거 네 다른 또 잡아도 보면은 semja 탐 디기에 대마쇼 세베디기 대마쇼 세베다 두스네 교스지고 이라상 다리에 받아.
Now, add to your motivation, the motivation earlier of refuge, the refuge in the Buddha, wanting to receive the vows from the Buddha, knowing that the teachings of the Buddha are what will guide one to attain lasting happiness. Now strengthen that motivation by meditating on love and compassion. And one meditates on love and compassion by recognizing that at a fundamental level, myself and all beings are exactly the same. We all want to be freed of suffering. None of us want to experience even a moment of difficulty. We all want to abide in happiness, in mental peace. So here generate the wish, may I and all beings be freed of problems and difficulties. That's the mind of compassion. And may I and all beings abide in a state of lasting happiness. And this is the mind of love. To generate this in terms of those that you know, but expand that though to include all beings, human and non-human. And the purpose of this is by strengthening your motivation to receive the vows, they will abide more powerfully on one's continuum. So we'll take a moment and we'll meditate all together on love, generating the wish, may all beings abide in lasting, stable happiness. Then together we'll meditate on compassion. And compassion is the wish. May all beings be free of suffering.
아야, 근데 학생 남다세대 이거는 semjenje dewa de temba de meiji semjenje dumana drawa de meiji sembe samdada.
And thirdly, meditate together, generating the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility. Where here we take responsibility for the happiness of others. We make the commitment to help others attain a state of happiness.
아야, 근데 자주 쌤 고민해. 제가 되네다 생전에 디기데 되는 동화등이 제발라 마 상기 고마 못하다는 지tum마 지다 대장 쌤제 탐지 디기 주에 도와서야 되다야니 쌤제 상기 고마 좀 탑에도 지사 상기 고마 토버쇼 쌤제 상다지 쌤제 탐지 되는 상기 고마 토버쇼 쌤제 상디라 이제 지시도 상다이 자주 쌤 고마서 디지 건들어.
Having meditated on refuge, and then together on love, compassion, and altruistic attitude, now let's meditate on bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the mind that makes a commitment that I must strive to become a Buddha quickly in order to skillfully guide others to attain a state of lasting happiness. In other words, to attain their own enlightenment. So this is the mind of bodhicitta. We can generate that aspiration now too.
나 그런 자주 쓰면 내가 그 잠이 이제 자주 쓰면 공부하라고 차라리 근데네다 상계 보면 토바라 토비 치료리 인장이 기인도 많이 봐주지 야구지 송이 삶에서 다시다.
We generated motivation of bodhicitta's determination to become a Buddha in order to help others. And we developed this wish, independence on meditating on love and on compassion. So in order to actually fulfill the aspiration of bodhicitta to become enlightened, I will now receive these vows and keep them well. So this then, we strengthen this determination to receive the vows and to live within them.
아야, 아니네, 얘네들다 도바 쉬제 야구 수리 삶이다. 공부한테 디스토네다. 상대티 다외 토네. 당한마 도바 쉬게 지기 맞아야 내가 이들 맞아야 돼. 경험마 지게 지에 지듯이 서로 숨도 못 거래.
Now, together we have generated motivation to receive the vows. So try and keep that present as we now embark on going through the refuge ceremony. And when the motivation fades, just regenerate it. So the refuge ceremony we do in Tibetan. I recite line by line. You have the booklet in front of you. And then recite, I'll recite in Tibetan. And then you respond by reading the phonetics directly back to you. So now you also say your own name. So we say together, Dak Ming Di. And then you say your name. Du inne sumpe.
Jisi Cui Bardu.
Jisi Cui Bardu.
Ganyi Namki Cho.
Ganyi Namki Cho.
Sangye La Gyosu Chiwo. Geshe Rabten Cho She la Geshe Chiwo So Nam Cho Gendo la Geshe Chiwo Da Geshe Thubten Rabten Genyen Du Zunbi Zongdu Solo Other thing on the Tarji Trovare, is a Dondala Galawas, Yas, Sanji, Chu, Ponjuki, Soma, Jasotro, the Nidami, Guinea, Toba, Sugar, Guinea, Toba, the Zubas and Alabore, and the Kerami Alia, and the Key Toba, Nawachi said, Nanti, and the chicken said,
That's our first of three recitations. And this recitation is where one is going for refuge, and one is addressing myself. It says at the beginning, the Venerable Monk. So that's addressed to myself because I will be bestowing the vows. But this is the first recitation where we are going for refuge to the three jewels.
Geshe Thubten Rabten Genyen Du Cho Sangye la Geshe Chiwo Geshe Rabten Du Cho She la Geshe Chiwo So Nam Cho Gendo la Geshe Chiwo Da Geshe Thubten Rabten Genyen Du Zunbi Zongdu Solo. Oh yeah, that's how you go. That's how somebody many Genyen Du Zunbi Zongdu Solo said, and then got sorry, Delia, and then Loben Solo said, Juba said, he means and beauty, Loben Solo said, Delia, and then Sono so like that, Delia, Lucian, Lava, Lucy, Sewashtamore, Interview, and the Diringa, Nakula, in the number of the keyword translate the King in the Batuko. Isn't that in the Batu number of Topson, that night in Yang Yins and together, Lucian, translate someone down whatever.
That's two recitations. Now we come to the third and final recitation. And here this is again the same as before, except further on, you see there's, it says there's a finger snap. So the point then, when I snap my fingers, for all of you, you generate the thought, now I've received the vows. So the purpose of myself snapping my fingers is for you to generate the thought, now the vows have been planted, or have been placed on my continuum.
Yeah. Zunba Gongsu So Da Midi Xin Jiwe Du Dine Songde Geshe Thubten Rabten Genyen Du Cho Sangye la Geshe Chiwo Geshe Rabten Du Cho She la Geshe Chiwo So Nam Cho Gendo la Geshe Chiwo Da Geshe Rabten Songdu So Step Chawada Mi Duchine Duchi Yun Delia Dobana Bata Toyu Some Toson Chiwada.
So in a moment, we get to the part where I snap my fingers. So you don't need to snap your fingers, but you do need to generate the thought, now I have the vows.
Geshe Thubten Rabten Genyen Du Bendigo So
Generate the thought, now I've received the vows.
아니 그 토소 이내장이 동바든 달성제 탐지교리나 상교고마 토비주도 냠내 야고지 야고송이 있어서는
And also generate the thought that I will keep these vows well, these vows which are an indispensable foundation in my spiritual development, in my progression, to fulfill my aspiration to become a Buddha for the sake of others. And I will strive to become a Buddha for the sake of others.
당일마 타비노 오시게 가르치는 교주들의 기인도 야고지 토설에 다 상담하는데 지난 교주들이 야소 투시에서 계시게.
So now we come to just these last 2 lines, where I'm now referred to as the preceptor because I've bestowed the vows to you, whereas at the beginning I was referred to as the Venerable Monk. And here, so it's the ritual has been just congratulating you on what you've done, and then you will reply back to me with lekso.
타비노 렉소. 교주들이야 기인도 봐 톱사에 야고 중앙에 내리자 지게 드린 바 기인도 바데 야고 숨긴 세계상 다 야고 숨고 그래 나는 마는 가르송으로서는 지사다 니마 안에 자주 받아 전시세 받는 게 캐고모 대상 유튜브에 지수를 기인도 봐 송제 냠는지기 뒤도 송제 저쪽에 야고 차와래 어떤 나시 얘기야 냠는데 야고 지긴 세계에 마 So
now you've received these 5 vows and you've received them well on your continuum. So you have the determination as well to keep them well. And now the next part is where one generates the determination to live within the vows and keep them well, just like all the great practitioners of the past. Because you by receiving these vows have joined this lineage of great practitioners who lived within the restraints of these vows and thereby enabled their spiritual development, becoming great practitioners such as bodhisattvas and arhats and even eventually Buddhas. So this final part then we recite together just like before.
지대를 파파 자전바 다기 지시 최 바도 소죄바 빵대 소죄바 레 라로바 디신도 다미디 신기회 장 유디네 송대 지시 최 바도 소죄바 빵대 소죄바 레 라로바 기wo 야라당고디 다 파파 자전바 대다기 라바가 제수 로고 제수 주보 제수 기도 현양 지대로 파파 대다기 지수 최 바도 마침바 렘바당 되비 로고레엠바당 준두마와당 주의창당 죄비창 예벌 교화 다음에 내방대 주의창당 죄비창 예벌 교화 다음에 내래 라로바 디신도 다미디 시기회 뒤되네 송대 지시 최 바도 마침바 렘바당 되비 로바레엠바당 Tundu Mawa Dam, Gu Cham, Jubi Cham, Yogur Jua, Damibi Nepang De, Gu Chada, Jubi Cham, Yogur Jua, Damibi Nebe, Lardober Jiwo, Pop Yalama Badi, Papa Jajamba, Yedagi, Labala, Jesu Lobo, Jesu Jubo, Jesu Gido, Tami Tabino, Yasoda, Tabino.
That's all.
Yes. And then the initial word was what he cannot initial inside word.
Rather than
No, no, oh, didn't matter. What is how much their power judgment that you said, well, on the initial word, the 20% usual. So, on the logo. The engineer did that game to tell about that game to go killing.
So that then completes, but there's benefit to reciting this last bit together in English. So I don't know if we have the same one, but in my little booklet, we have the same one. So in the middle, where it starts at the top, preceptor, please hear my request. So we can just recite that together in English. Okay, so we can just recite this together in English. Preceptor, please hear my request. Just as the Venerable Lobsang has done, I too will abandon killing. I will renounce killing in the same way. I called from now on and for as long as I live will abandon. If you know where I am, then do read along. I called your name from now on and for as long as I live will abandon killing. Oh, we're in the same place. Will abandon killing and will engage in the opposite of killing. I will train in this first branch just like the noble arhats trained. I will accomplish this, I will do this. Moreover, just as the noble arhats have done, I too, for as long as I live, will abandon.
Just as the noble arhats have done, I too, for as long as I live, will abandon.
Stealing, sexual misconduct, telling lies, alcohol and other intoxicants, which lead to a state of unconscientiousness. In the same way, I will always renounce alcohol and other intoxicants, which lead to a state of unconscientiousness. I called from now on and for as long as I live will abandon stealing, sexual misconduct, telling lies, alcohol and other intoxicants, which lead to a state of unconscientiousness. I will engage in the opposite of alcohol and other intoxicants, which lead to a state of unconscientiousness. I will train in these 5 branches, just like the noble arhats trained. I will accomplish them, I will do this. Thank you.
好的，你看这经验就这样下来的，主要是看好的。那你当然在多数业的作为的地方，对，上到哪里啊？当然就是一年，学会了当年的一些的，一定当然给你身边上大的，那这个，所学现在的这里面身边上其他所学面这样的，那这个毛面身边，那这我也这边上了，那。 军事也是没上的，这个强化说话的粤语，你看写吧，这个然后那个粤语的那个强化说对面是那个第三个大的那个第三个大的送话是送过的第三个大过的，都是的上来的。
Now you've all received the vows well, so generate joy within yourself that this has been achieved. And the way to include the practice of having received these vows within your own meditation is to, when you get up in the morning, to generate the thought that I have on my continuum the vows from the Buddha. So therefore, today, I will not kill, I will not steal, I will not engage in sexual misconduct, I will not lie, and I will not take intoxicants.
但都是呢，我们说话是对那肯定是上大的也是过的，是啊，对那个上大一堆做剧没是个上大一堆，说剧个上面没对先说剧把它用下来，我们古没是个都没是个上面堆，我们古个上面没的我们古也好了，其实你说也也清楚的，但是等到古他今天开始说，大家这个不这样子，他说剧没是说完这。大家就不如记得几岁了，人家还没我岁的，这经过我等于不去学上岁了，你刚才俩就刚才就不如学了，准备的，这个身边说就当然一买把小上身边给上单个吧，不但人家说我这边听不说我的呢，一买把切过了，一都把把切过了，一，但比你切的是呢，所属于刚做的上面的过年那些公摩托的，比米肉水位呢，这说什么的干的还没我去，那米俩就。他比我大几米水位的，那你所说的水公路要买的，没办法，你都把买办法采购买的。但刚中的所说的对比团呢，现在就说我是个婚恋垃圾，那这个比这个把它当干的水位呢，他就干的进水位的，你水位呢，米水位呢，那个都把这水位都把这动了，没办法采购嘛，对吧？甚至甚至所觉的真理的那个都没办法采购，其实那人家搞的甚至所觉帮。所觉没什么上面当我的，身边不是的，身边家里的所觉其实没什么上面当我的，这样所觉也要嘛的。人家家里的所觉不如些说，当然不是说当然，但你买把茶色是没上当的，有茶要买，你买把给你茶的，那么所属于刚中的好高兴，不能垃圾，没加到水了，那给你都没办法吃过去嘛的，现在给你都没办法吃过嘛，以后我的眼睛情况那些。
I encourage you every morning to repeat that I have the vows of the Buddha and therefore I will not engage in these 5 behaviors. Because the purpose of repeating this is because most of these vows one isn't presented with an opportunity to even break them. But sometimes one's life may radically change and suddenly one is faced with the possibility of engaging in such conduct. And by having repeated to yourself every morning, I will not engage in this behavior, those thoughts then, at that time, will serve to protect your vows, serve to enable you to keep your vows well. Furthermore, it's important to understand the vows itself. So, for example, the vow of killing is specifically not to kill a human being. One should try not to kill at all, but what breaks the vow is to intentionally kill a human being. If one is, for example, involved in a car accident, one's driving and involved in a car accident, and someone else dies. You have no intention to kill them. So of course, it's unwanted that the other person passed away, but the vow isn't broken because there was no intention to kill. Likewise, if one kills insects or animals, that doesn't break the vow. It does include negativity, but it doesn't break the vow. The vow is specifically about killing humans. But ideally, one should refrain from all forms of killing. And then lastly, there is also unintentional killing, especially of insects, when one drives, when one walks. And this too is not fully completed negative karma because there was no intention to take any life. So it's important then to understand what is included in the vows. And in terms of killing, it specifically refers to humans. Ideally though, one should refrain from taking any life.
那军械的，当然这个军其中可能的军械没什么上头当过的，人家当然这个各类的军区就那些， 这个米加了通说是那通嘛说是那这米就话中国呢这做法军写是呢军写吧的然后这我当时军写当然给你们个查是是给现在什么那个嘛然后这吃过嘛军写吧的给你多么没法吃的军签不是你觉得军签不是的这个更准备过二也得到的呀持续给别人多把了图面的多把也多多文献里面的文献也多多没他马上的他通说这通说的那些人过二也的公众现在过二也得到了持续给多给的没问题也多多这些人呢你说些人呢军签不的军签不的现在今年咱这些人呢你给你把没法签不嘛对现在你看就搞来的军写的给你都把没法签过嘛因为他给你都把没法签过嘛你现在这个是被写掉了了军写新面是在上面刚嘛写的什么情况的情况
The second vow of not lying. Here it should be understood that ideally one should refrain from lying, live as an honest person, someone who is trustworthy and reliable. But if one tells maybe you could say a common lie, a white lie, by saying, oh, I didn't see something when you had seen it, this is a lie, but it does not break one's vow. The vow specifically refers to telling a great lie, which refers to intentionally deceiving others that you have spiritual qualities which you lack, such as clairvoyance, being able to read others' minds, or saying one can converse with deities when one cannot. That is that lie, that is the great lie, and that is what contravenes the vow. Nevertheless, though, one should try and live one's life as an honest person, a reliable, trustworthy person. But stealing, here one should understand, is taking something of value. So it isn't really specified what's of value, but one could imagine perhaps a level of stealing something worth $1,000. So it's not a set value like that, but it's taking something of value. And just to say as a translator, this is often translated as taking what's not given. And whilst that's literally the word, it can be misleading. As Geshe says, if you take a flower, so you pick a flower from someone else's garden, you've taken something which wasn't given to you. That does not break the vow not to steal. It refers to taking something of value, stealing something of value. So ideally, one should again live one's life without taking what's not given, living an honest, straightforward life. But to break the vow, one needs to take something of value. And sexual misconduct is as described earlier.
수수 기인도 내가 찾고 말해 창도야 되게 이내다 창동 주고만 동배 켈레제 창동을 때네 아니 내가 지금 무엇이 되고 소주 내가 고모게 내가 밑에 뒤에 나한테는 로한제 내가 연구해 봐서 창동에서 되겠다 저 켈레고 아니 괜찮대.
Then to the fifth vow, it may seem that of not taking intoxicants, or more literally not taking alcohol, seems a little bit as an outlier amongst the five. The first four are quite clearly in society, these are harmful and to be avoided. But then intoxicants or taking alcohol seems a little bit strange because it's not such a big deal compared to the others. So the reason why intoxicants is included here is because when one has consumed sufficient, that one's when one's mind is affected, and that may be a little, maybe quite a bit, depending on the individual, or depending on what it is that one consumes. When one's mind has been altered, one loses our ethics gets challenged. One very easily contravenes ethical lines. It becomes very easy to, or perhaps, well, maybe not easy to kill, but easier, certainly to steal or to lie about qualities that one actually does not have, or to engage in sexual misconduct. These follow more easily if one's ethics are impeded, and this happens if one consumes intoxicants. So that being said, if one were to take, say, a small amount of alcohol or have food that was baked with alcohol in it, that's not necessarily contravening the vow, because one's mind is not affected. Ideally, one should live one's life refraining from any alcohol or drugs, but if one has such a small amount that it has no impact on one's mind, then it certainly does not contravene this vow.
And music, oh, the other was the because and the sound of the bear operation means to the Unjil, this was in a go to what is a deep to you and them to the house, calling the Jew, some of the the ends are signing that Saint Joe, so she may say some of them, and the Kuma may say some of them, and Jushi may say some of them, Launching may say some of them, and the Ching, Chantu may say some of them. This some of the young and he will not do a legal matter. That he don't try to some done, and that's some kind of reason. Who may say some down in your day? They are constantly Champuchi. Here, a pepper jewels, some of the day over. It's a yachting over. So that Juicy made any. That she had a sort of mess, and Jim mess some time. And it demanded social with Kuma and the Shan Yahu or the Shan, other Yahu some of the day, which is not needed, social Kamashi Yard. Lucy that they needed some Lutoni who was at this some of the who were to some civil. These are some the Jimmy and some some of the song said some of Jimmy recipe some down place.
It's through called the three doors. Our physical behavior, our verbal behavior and our mental process that we can cause harm to the lives of others and to ourselves. So we see with these 5 vows how they relate to our body, speech and mind. So there are those that are physical, such as killing and stealing and sexual misconduct. There's that which is verbal, that of lying. And then intoxicants, once we take it physically, it impacts our mind. And so through these 3 doors, our physical behavior, our verbal communication and our way of thinking, we create problems in our own life and in the lives of others. So therefore, the purpose of vows, or another way to translate the word for vow is restraints. The purpose of these vows is to restrain our body, speech, and in particular, our mind. Because, so for example, to contravene the vows of either one's physical behavior or verbal speech depends on actually engaging in something physically or verbally. Ideally, though, we need to be mindful of our mental process, so that whilst the vow, say, to steal is a physical act and the contravention requires one to do something physically, when the mind arises, the thought arises, I want that, and I can steal it, and I possibly can get away with it, no one will know. This is now still a mental process. We haven't contravened the vow. But this is what ideally where we should take a responsibility for our own mind. Be mindful, aware of this thought process, and let it go. Don't follow it. And in this way, we protect ourselves. We remain ethical. And then the way to do this is, as I mentioned in the morning, you remind yourself, you have these the vows of the Buddha, and today, therefore, I will not kill, etc. But you can expand that to the thought, I will not harm others. I will not add to the difficulty and problems that others are experiencing. Everyone carries their own burden of problems. I won't add to that. Therefore, I will not take life. I will not steal. I will not lie. I will not engage in sexual misconduct. And to ensure, or to help me not to do so, I won't partake of intoxicants. So in this way, one is strengthening one's commitment not to harm others. But the stronger this determination is within one not to harm others, the easier it is to restrain our physical behavior and our verbal behavior. And then when one does come across an opportunity where one could otherwise engage in unethical behavior and perhaps get away with it, one will refrain from doing so. That's not the kind of person one wants to be. So this way, by taking control of our mind, taking responsibility for our own mind, and being mindful of our mental process, we can use our vows to ensure we don't bring harm to others, and thereby we do not harm ourselves either, or create problems for ourselves either. So finally then, generate this thought regularly, certainly in the morning and if you can, elsewhere in the day. I now have these 5 hours of the Buddha, and therefore I will live within these restraints, and I will, wherever I can, be of benefit to others as well as not harm them. When you generate this thought evermore, I will live within the restraints of these vows so as not to harm others. Where I have the opportunity to benefit, I will do so. And the stronger this becomes within you, the easier it is to live comfortably within these vows, seeing them as something that only brings benefit.
최종에 뒤 좀좀에 무슨 야구 야 근데 동화세 디유주에 전달이 조금 차게 야구를 소소자랑 저랑 조금 인생비기다 두시샤다 알지야 네 먼저 두시티네 지야 먼저 차상 기인도 같이 배하고 정서와 생비기 안 바라바야 두시네 근데 가와 보면래 소소야 지금 프로퍼티에 최로티에 소소 가만 제가 하고 왔다 되게 로봇이야 거래는 펜션 안에 지금 통해 로봇이 제일 이게 심으시면서
Today, we have all formed a very special relationship together, a relationship of Dharma friends, because of why we have gathered together and have engaged in this refuge ceremony together. So just like when you join a company and you join a place of work, you develop a relationship with your colleagues, you become co-workers. Likewise, we've developed now a connection of Dharma friends through having engaged in this process of refuge ceremony. So this means we all have a special relationship together, and not just for myself, to yourselves, but between each other. So therefore, you should look on each other as friends, as you could say colleagues in one's spiritual life. And that's when you see someone within our group as needing some assistance, wholeheartedly offer it from your side, recognizing this very special relationship that we have all formed together. So thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity we've had.